Hi, sweet friends. Welcome to another video. Let's talk about the books that I read in September. September was kind of a bummer for me in terms of reading because I didn't get to read a lot, and the time that I did put into reading wasn't very great. I did have 3 books that I enjoyed, but honestly, I'm calling September the month of DNF'd books for me. And if you don't know what DNF stands for, it just means did not finish. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I DNF'd last month. So, yeah, kind of a bummer, but it is what it is, and that's just going to happen sometimes. So I'm going to start with the books that I DNF'd just to get them out of the way so we can get to the books that I actually did like. The first one that I DNF'd was the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This cover is super deceiving. Do not go into this book thinking that it's just this cozy little wholesome fall read, because it's not. It is a romance and there is spice in it. I'm just going to leave it at that as to why I chose to DNF this book.
That's a spicy meatball!
The next book that I chose to DNF is called Whose Body? And this was actually an audiobook that I was going to try to listen to, but literally right off the bat, it started out with a curse word. And so that just kind of like took me by surprise. And I was like, okay, you know what? This one's not for me. And I'm going to move on to something else. The next one that I chose to DNF is Assistant to the Villain. I know this book is just getting all the hype right now and so many people love it, but how do I want to put this? I felt like our main character was heavily lusting over her love interest, and that is just not the vibe, not the mindset that I'm going for. So I just quickly chose to get out of that narrative and I put it down. The next book that I chose to DNF, I was so excited for this book. So this book is Tornado Alley. The cover is so stinking cute, and for some reason I was drawn into just this premise of surviving a tornado. And I also think this is a new author. This might be her debut novel. And I discovered it on Bookstagram, and I went into it thinking that it was just going to be like a really lighthearted, sweet romance. And I would say it probably is for most people, but I am someone who is very, very sensitive to any kind of tension in terms of physical attraction. So if there's like a lot of comments being made about the male body or the female body, it just really affects me. And I know that I've got to get up out of that narrative because it's not going to do good things for my mind. Just to be honest with you, I used to struggle with pornography and masturbation. Those types of narratives and relationships between characters and the way that it's presented with a lot of tension really gets to me, and I just cannot read it. So take that for what it's worth and just know that that's why I DNF'd this book. All right, the last book that I chose to DNF is The Wishing Game. And this was another book that I was just hearing a lot of things about, a lot of people reading it this time of year. And I'm trying to remember, I wish I would have taken notes. I don't honestly remember why I chose to DNF this book. Part of me wants to say it might have had to do with cursing. I don't know if there was something about that. Yeah, I honestly cannot remember, but I do remember that I was really into the plot and just the story of it. I was into it, but yeah, something ended up coming up for me and I chose to DNF the book. So, okay, those are my DNFs out of the way. So now let's talk about the 3 books that I did enjoy for the month of September. The first book is Garlic and the Vampire, and this was such a cute fall, atmospheric, wholesome book. I chose to give this a 4.5 stars The graphics were so excellent. If you don't know, this is a graphic novel. And I mean, I flew through this within an hour, maybe, probably less than an hour. And it was just super cute. The only reason I'm not giving it 5 stars is because I don't know how I feel about evil things being represented as these light-hearted, fluffy type of things. So that's the only reason that I didn't give it 5 stars. Everything else about it, I absolutely loved. If you don't know the premise for Garlic and the Vampire, it's basically this little anxious garlic bulb that is kind of volunteered by her community to go and confront this vampire that has moved into this castle that's up on the hill because everyone is scared of him and they know that vampires don't like garlic, and so garlic in theory would be safe from the vampire, so she could go confront him and tell him to leave. Garlic is just this little ball of anxiety and she's so scared, and so it's all about her journey, really. I think this book has some great representation for mental health, which I also like. So it's just her journey of overcoming that, and I just really enjoyed all of the characters in this graphic novel. So you should really check it out if you haven't. So the next book that I read was actually an audiobook, and it is Wormwood Abbey. You guys, I highly, highly recommend the audiobook for this book because the narrator was just absolutely excellent. There's just something about this world that makes you want to cozy up with a cup of tea and be by a fire and listen to this audiobook. I am not necessarily a fantasy girl, but this book really did it for me. I absolutely loved it. It was just an audiobook that I found myself getting really excited to listen to every single day. And the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I guess the pacing of it maybe was a little bit slow at certain points, but it definitely did not deter me from finishing the book. And then the final book that I finished is actually a picture book, I guess. It's called Library on Wheels. Library on Wheels is basically the history behind the first bookmobile and also the first Little Free Library. I love learning about history and seeing like older photos and just this woman's story of how she persisted and endured through challenges and people telling her that she couldn't do it, just how it came about for us to have bookmobiles and little free libraries. It was just really cool. And if you like that kind of thing and are a history type of person, I would highly recommend you check this book out. All right, guys, that is it for all of the books that I read in September. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you've read any of these books, please let me know in the comments. I hope that you're having a fantastic day and a fantastic fall season so far. And let me know in the comments, what are you reading right now? What are you looking forward to in the month of October? I will see you guys in the next video.